This is Decarbonize the World with Frank Deline, solving the climate crisis while increasing profits in your business. Here's Frank.
I'm back to wrap up my talk with Jennifer Garvey, the head of New York market strategy for Ørsted. We've been digging into the South Fork Wind project that is expected to power East Hampton. Now, Jennifer, despite strong support from the Town of East Hampton Energy Sustainability Committee and the town board, South Fork Wind faced significant opposition based on misinformation and fear. I witnessed your remarkable composure and resilience in public meetings. As I faced similar challenges serving on the Wainscott Citizen Advisory Committee, I looked up to you as a mentor. How did you manage to withstand opposition for an extended period of time? What was your secret?
Well, thank you. First of all, I so appreciate the compliment. I have to remain composed, of course. That's part of my job. But, listen, I appreciate people having questions. I'm not afraid of questions, even if they seem surprising or, you feel like you've addressed the question before. I have no problem with people asking questions. And, there were a lot of them. And there are a lot of very bright people who live in this community, and they had no shortage of questions and tough questions and good questions. Don't mind that. But, it became complicated. We were very fortunate to have very broad support from the town of East Hampton and from the leadership. I mean, you can be supportive of a project and still, push someone to answer questions and hold their feet to the fire. I mean, that's important. You want to do that. There's that natural kind of watchdog role that the government has to play. So, and they did it well, I thought, in East Hampton. But it was tough at times. We definitely encountered some, we'll call it hyper-local resistance. But they had a lot of resources at their disposal. And so, you just have to work through that. I think what was the most frustrating about it is some of the misinformation, the really blatant misinformation that was so intentionally put out there. And I think it's just unfortunate because it confuses the whole community. It becomes tough to know who to believe. But I think with the support of some of the local stakeholder groups that emerged to support our project, and from great neighbors like yourself, Frank, you've been, a diehard supporter from the outset.
Thank you.
It's really been helpful, but it's important for people to. Sometimes people are a bit quiet, they see things happening and they just kind of don't want to get in the fray. And then we have folks like yourself who are always willing to stand up and say what you think is right and to call out folks maybe for some misinformation. But it's a really interesting social experiment, I will say, to be up close to a process like this in a small community like Wainscott. But ultimately, I think it's worked out well. Obviously, we've been able to proceed, and one of the most rewarding things has been to hear people who acknowledge that they weren't necessarily supporters of our project, maybe were even, really opposed and felt like it wasn't a good idea. And now that we're on the other side of construction and see how well it's went, they've acknowledged that it wasn't that bad and that actually, it's a good thing that the project has been able to advance.
While significant progress has been made on land, such as running conduit and cables as we spoke about, I'm interested in the offshore construction update. There was posts on Facebook Ørsted made that the ship that's going to do the construction and of the windmills themselves are going through an inspection process right now. Can you confirm if the project is still on track to meet the end of the 2023 deadline?
Still on track, yes. The project will be turning on clean power by the end of 2023. So we do expect steel in the water, the first steel in the water, to happen very shortly here, maybe in the next few days. And so broadly speaking, we'll see the turbine foundations be installed over the course of this summer. And then in late summer to early fall, we'll see the turbines themselves be placed on the foundations. As we all know, time whizzes by. So I feel like, we've got a lot of excitement over the next few months, but really looking forward to the conclusion of all this construction.
Well, I mean, we won't see it from land, but it must be real exciting. And I'm going to take a run out there with my boat, actually.
You should.
And see the construction going on. Yeah, I do a little offshore fishing. And it'll be exciting because this stuff is, all being built and coming out of the ocean 30 miles out. And I think it's in a very exciting time and watching that build, from a being in construction also,
Oh, I mean the construction aspect of this, and the engineering that goes into offshore wind, and the logistics, and logistics around the vessels, and just the crews that have to be prepared to go out there and work on this. I mean, it's really an extraordinary feat. I mean, I do say like 90% of offshore wind, I feel like, is organization and logistics. Ultimately, the actual construction happens in quite a short period of time, but it's just the preparation and the work leading up to it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I watched the Block Island wind farm be built, and it's amazing how quickly it does go once it gets started.
It does go very quickly. Yep.
So, leading the town of East Hampton Energy Sustainability Advisory Committee, I advocated for the goal of achieving 100% renewable energy for electricity. The South Fork Wind Project will play a significant role in helping us achieve this goal, and it fills me with excitement and satisfaction. This project will make a substantial contribution to our community by reducing our carbon footprint, decreasing reliance on fossil fuels for electricity, strengthening our electric grid by increasing resilience with new transmission cables from the east, and utilizing a different source of power. How do you feel now that you can witness the fruition of your efforts?
Well, first, I would say, no victory laps until this project is complete. I'm a little superstitious, but I am
Right.
extremely proud of what we've already accomplished in terms of like getting all the approvals done, the work that's been completed in East Hampton to support the onshore portion of this. I mean, we've really come a long way. And
Right.
to be fair, the star of the show is just beginning with this offshore construction work. But we have a really incredible team, and so we're feeling confident about that. But I mean, hey, there's nothing like seeing your plan come together, successfully. It's been incredibly rewarding. It's been a long process. I've been working on South Fork Wind since 2017. And
Right.
I've always said I wanted to be a part of something from the ground up. And I feel like I'm really getting that experience in this business. And so it's just been a really just an extraordinary process to witness, to see people react to the idea, to, help answer their questions, to help formulate the plan for how this project will move forward. It's been tremendous. And it's really important. I mean, these are among the first projects. We have to do them really well because, people are watching, and that, they want to, success begets more success, I think. And so it was really important to us that we worked carefully with the community. I mean, appreciate we had some local resistance too, but on balance, we had really tremendous support from the community. And I think I want this to be a success story that supports other projects going forward. And so that's what I hope we'll be able to say at the end of all of this.
Great. A couple of years ago, Ørsted and Eversource pledged $5 million to Stony Brook University's Energy Center to advance offshore wind in New York. Can you tell us more about that? And by the way, we probably should address that Ørsted just recently bought out Eversource in this project here. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, so it's the remaining offshore wind lease area that we own jointly. Ørsted has agreed to purchase the Eversource's portion of that, or their stake in
Right.
it. So, I mean, the message is this: Ørsted sees a lot of opportunity still in offshore wind. We are the global leader in offshore wind. This is our core business. We see a lot of opportunity in the Northeast market here. I mean, I'm from New York, and we're actively bidding on a project for New York, and so I hope that lots of that opportunity lands in New York. It is a lease area that can serve multiple states. It can also serve, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and all of that. But it's a great location that we already have lease rights to. It's a great wind resource. We understand the area well, and so as EverSource is seeking to redeploy their money towards more of their core business, which is the onshore transmission assets and that they own, it just became a great opportunity for Ørsted to buy out that available stake and continue to do what we do really well, which is build offshore wind. So really excited about that. And then to your point about Stony Brook, yeah, that's a terrific collaboration that we have with the Stony Brook University. It's part of the New York State University system that's been in place now for a few years. And so it's allowed us to seed fund a series of research projects. And the way it's worked initially is that we've kind of put out a call to the professors at the university, and they've proposed different projects for research projects to us, and then we've selected those that we feel have sort of like the most value to our industry. And so that's been a great process to work with the faculty at Stony Brook. I mean, Stony Brook's as you know, a powerhouse. I mean, they've
Yeah.
I feel like their status is growing really fast. I mean, they've been a great university for a long time, but they've had a bunch of recent accomplishments lately. They've just won this RFP to build a climate solution center on Governor's Island in New York City. They've just gotten a huge endowment from Jim Simons, like $500 million.
That's right.
So
Yep.
the governor in New York's really been seeking to elevate that school. And so anyway, we're delighted to be partnered with them. And, they have a lot of expertise that they can put towards, future parts of our business. A lot of it will focus on grid integration, for example, and like battery storage and just ways that all the ways that we need to be better at integrating all of the offshore wind generation that will, bring new renewable power to the grid, and what's the best way to do that. So they're a great group to work with.
Yes, Stony Brook has been awesome. The professors there took me under their wing, actually, in the Advanced Energy Research and Technology Center, and invited me to speak at the Advanced Energy Conference. And there I was invited to, after that, I was invited to submit a paper to the American Institute of Physics, Journal of Renewable and Sustainable Energy, and my paper was peer-reviewed and published. So they've been a great local school to work with, and they do incredible work. So I'm really happy about that you're working with them. I know that Ørsted is involved in other offshore leases on the East Coast. Just talk to a little bit about what are the expectations for the future of offshore wind development in New York and the remainder of the East Coast.
I mean, the expectations of the future is a lot more offshore wind. I mean, we are just getting started. And I think, people don't realize just how early days it is. I mean, at this moment, there are literally 7 offshore wind turbines currently in existence in the United States. And so, that really is the ground floor. Like, we are at the very earliest stages of now, we're with some projects like South Fork Wind is just finishing up its development phase, and obviously now we're getting into construction. But like, this is it. We're on the cusp of the wave of construction that is starting. So a really exciting time. And because of the immense goals that the different states have set for offshore wind, because as I mentioned, I mean, it is an absolutely critical piece of the path to achieving our clean energy goals. Here in the Northeast, there really is no other way for us to scale up the amount of clean energy that we need at the pace that we need to meet our goals without offshore wind. And so huge emphasis on it. And of course, huge opportunity coming with it. So it's a great story. It takes a long time to get these projects off the ground. So just lots of excitement. The fact that maybe it's just because I eat, sleep, and breathe offshore wind every day.
Yep,
It feels like
yep.
it gets actively talked about. But even as I talk to, friends and neighbors, who obviously work in completely different fields, it feels like offshore wind just gets talked about a lot now. It's like we're starting to normalize it a bit. And so we'll never really see too much of it, right? I mean, these next round of wind farms, Block Island's a really unique example in that it's very close to shore, but that's also because it's right off an island that's 14 miles from mainland as well. But
Right.
it's something that will be happening out in the distance, and so at best you might see some tiny little turbines on the horizon, from shore in certain parts of the Northeast. But for the most part, this is an awful lot of power that will be happening well off our shores. For the most part, quite far from site, and it's a whole new frontier. It's really it's an extraordinary opportunity. So just stay tuned for more offshore wind.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity because, and it's really neat when you think about it because, the offshore wind projects go from the Boston area all the way down to the Carolinas with many, many leases already purchased in different stages of approval to build these wind farms. And it's in a really interesting place where we have a lot of population on the East Coast in the New York tri-state area, going down to Baltimore, Washington. But the amount of people that are going to be able to benefit from renewable electricity on offshore wind, in the future will be really, really incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're talking big projects, lots of power.
Well, that's all I have for you as far as the questions I have now. Is there anything you want to add?
I mean, Frank, I'd really just like to thank you because you were such a strong early supporter and it was extremely helpful to the project. So I appreciate, everything that you do is about doing what you believe in, not just talking about it. And so you've been a fierce advocate for South Fork Wind, and it's really made a huge difference to the project. So thank you for your advocacy. I hope that your story and the work that you encourages others to follow in your footsteps. It's amazing the difference one person can make, and so if lots of
Yeah.
people do that, look what we can do.
Yeah, and we have a great town board. We had a great committee, people who are very committed to seeing renewable energy come on board, not only with wind but also with solar. And I think we're really making a difference here on the East End because we are seeing now as once we made the commitment to be 100% renewable, town of Southampton then followed, then the state of New York followed, and then we see all these other states following, making goals and commitments. So, it all started in East Hampton, and I'm really proud to be a part of that. And I thank you for all your efforts because it took a tremendous amount of energy and commitment on your part to see this through.
Well, thank you. It's been a real privilege to work on this and to work with the East Hampton community. So, I couldn't be more proud. And I just want to see those turbines spinning.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks so much, Frank.
You're welcome. And that wraps up another episode of Decarbonize the World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love it if you left me a review so more folks like yourself can discover the show. Until next time, take care.
This has been Decarbonize the World with Frank Deline. To connect with Frank and to learn more about clean energy, reducing fossil fuels, and increasing profits, go to frankdeline.com. Decarbonize the World is a production of Advantage Audio.